Obviously, as a lot of you know, I wasn't exactly expecting to have Elliott. It was a bit of a surprise. But God told me his name before we even really had him, and I knew he was going to be a boy, before we found out any of that. And Elliott, if you don't know, means sort of like the end, doesn't it? It means like the end, the fullness. It means like completion. Yeah. Do you want to go? I was like, I don't know why that would be what his name's going to be, because I thought I'd have more children than this. And the whole way through I was struggling with depression and I was on medication. But they told me it was safe. And then I took it upon myself to read the leaflet, which I guess you're supposed to do that, but I didn't. And it basically said that you're at risk for preterm labour, heavy bleeding, which is already a big problem for me. I've had 3 babies outside of Elliott, and every single one of them bar one, I ended up bleeding out and needing blood or something like that. And I was like, that's not a portion for my baby. What if he's born too early? What if something's wrong and complications are made for him because of something I've done? And so I did something that you should never do, and I do not condone doing this, please don't do it. I just stopped taking them, and I didn't tell anyone, and I probably should have, but I just prayed. I was just like, oh Lord, you know, if I'm supposed to be off of these, just take away all the symptoms, all of the side effects, take them away. And so I had no side effects at all. And he was fine. And I felt like the pregnancy was going really well. And I thought, you know what, I'm going to make it to term, and he's going to be the first natural labourer I've ever had in my life. Oh, I was so wrong. Literally so wrong. And a lot of you probably know already, I had a bit of an issue in the end. I was about 37 weeks just. Was it one day? I was literally 1 day into 37 weeks, which is 37 weeks. And he just stopped moving. And I was like, why isn't he moving anymore? And that, for me, that's really triggering, because as you probably know, I've probably shared before, that's what happened with my first son. He stopped moving, and I told him something's wrong. They didn't believe me, so on and so on, and he passed away. And so I felt like something's really not right here. He's not moving. And so me and Nan ended up in hospital a couple of times, saying, look, he's not moving. And they're like, he's moving, you're all right. It's just like, I want to say like trauma. It's just like you're going through the same thing again, and you're just seeing it as something it's not. But I just had a feeling, no, something is wrong. Like when the spirit just sits funny, and you're like, no, something's not right. And randomly, and very God, to be fair, my midwife came and saw me a day early. And the day she came and saw me, she said, I literally just got back from the hospital. And they said, you're fine, he's fine. Just go home and rest, he'll be all right. And she was like, okay, so what's the problem then? So he's not moving. She gave me a big, oh, it was huge, ice water. I got a brain freeze, and he did not budge, not even an inch. And she was like, I'm going to send you up to the hospital now. And they're gonna listen to you because I'm sending you. And so we ended up back in the hospital, and I just had this real feeling in my spirit, like something I've never felt before, like a really strong conviction of do not leave here without your baby. And my chest was just like, oh, my arms get goosebumps even talking about it. And I didn't want that. I didn't want that. I wanted to have a natural birth. I wanted to go into labour naturally. I didn't want to be induced and go through all of that, because anyone who's done it, they know they don't want to do it. Please don't play with your yeah, I was kind of like, you know, it happens how it happens. As long as my baby's alive, I don't mind. As long as he's alive, I don't mind. And I think I ended up saying it to the midwife, didn't I? Because she came in and she was like, babies do this. They go through periods of moving and not moving. They do it all the time, you know. And I was like, this woman hasn't read my notes. She hasn't read my notes. And you actually said to her, Mum, didn't you? Said, you need to go and read Abbie's notes. She's had a stillbirth from this before. You need to read her notes. She read my notes, so she came back to and apologised and said she was sorry for being insensitive, and that she'd bring around the nicest doctor they had to do what I pleased, more or less. And I said to him, I'm not leaving here without my baby. I don't care how you have to get him out, you're getting him out now. Because if he's out, you can do something to save him. If he's in, you don't do anything, you leave him. And it was like a level of like, hangs in the balance. And God was really taking me at the time, personally, for a spiritual journey of like, do you trust me? And it's okay to say, yeah, I trust you, Lord, on a Sunday. But when it comes down to the life of your child, it's completely different. Anyone who's had that moment of like holding your baby in your arms and being like, Lord, I trust you with this most precious thing in my entire life, in my world. And something going wrong, and then not making it, and then passing away, and there is nothing you can do, and your heart can cry out as much as you want, and it does not change. And that does not mean that God doesn't come through. That doesn't mean you can't trust him. It just means that time the answer may have been no. I don't know, but I guess we'll find out. But he was taking me through that journey of like, do you trust me? Do you trust me? And so I was just like, you know what? I'm going to trust this. I'm going to take that step and I'm going to trust this. Because I can't not in this moment. When I know that what God wants is best for me, is what's best for him too. And so we're sat in this hospital and I just had this feeling, do you trust me even for cesarean? And I was just like, oh no, that's my worst fear. Anybody who knows me, I don't like blood, I don't like veins, I don't do operations. No, thank you. I was just like, that's a bit far. But I proceeded with just normal induction and it went horribly wrong. He was head down, ready to go, and they were like, oh, you know, well, we're fine, we'll just break your waters and we'll come out. Anyone who's this is too much TMI, maybe just cover your ears. He literally, she was like, oh, I can almost break your waters. And then she couldn't. She said, okay, I'll let the senior midwife try. She was like, whoa, her face changed so hard, didn't it? Do you mind, Elliott? And her face changed and it freaked me out. She said, it's a hand, it's not a head, it's a hand. It moved to be like, I think it's called it transverse. And that's not good. And she said, and I can feel his hand and I can feel the cord, which is really dangerous. We can't break your waters, we can't do it. I was like, okay, well, you're doing it one way or another. I'll come back tomorrow. You know, I'll wait here the whole time. And I did, and he did move back. And then he moved again, but this time he had head down, but he had the cord next to his head, which is really dangerous, because obviously if the cord goes first, it's an emergency C-section. It's dangerous. For him, and I guess for me too. But this man came in and he was like, I will do it, I'll break your waters, I'll just break it the other side, and then he'll move and it'll be fine. And I was just like, Lord, this does not feel fine. But he did, and we were away with having a baby, and none of the epidurals worked. I wanted an epidural. I didn't get an epidural. I got 3 epidurals, and not one of them worked. No one tells you this. They're like, oh, you just say epidural and you'll be fine, pain free. No, you get a needle in your back and nothing changes. That's what happened. And it was awful. And it was so bad. And then they couldn't find his heartbeat. And I don't really remember that fully. I just remember being in so much pain. And then there was no noise on the monitor. And there was about 6 midwives in the room. I don't even know. And they were all just talking at me and telling me things and trying to hold me still. And they were saying, we can't find his heartbeat, we can't find his heartbeat. And I was just like, just do something and save my baby. Do something and save my baby. But I couldn't say anything. I just was freaking out. And this lady came in. And I saw her earlier in the day. And she just came in and she was like, she ignored all the monitors. She ignored all the people talking to me. She didn't say a word. She just moved my leg and was just like, just push. And miraculously, and I say they could not find his heartbeat anywhere. They were looking and they were looking and they were looking and they could not find it. And then literally it was like one push and he was out and done. And he was alive and kicking and screaming. And they were just like, these midwives were looking around like, what is going on? Like they couldn't find his heartbeat. But honestly, she had to unwrap the cord from around his neck. I know if I'd have gone to term 39 weeks or further than that, which I did with both of the other 2, he would have been too big to have moved, and that cord would have been stuck there. And I just know it. Like, you know when you just know something and the Holy Spirit just tells you and you get goosebumps all over your body? I just know if I hadn't gone in then, I'd have gone in later, and that cord would have been right up there. And it would have been so dangerous and such a different turnout. And I really felt like this was God helping me to trust him even when I don't understand what's going on. Because I didn't know any of this until after the fact. Do I trust him for it all? Even when things don't seem like they're going to pan out the way you want them to. but I thank God that I have a very healthy, rambunctious and adventurous 1-year-old, and he is entirely perfect. And he has a very well working heartbeat, just so you know. But without that happening, he wouldn't be who he is now and how he is now. And I just want to say glory be to God for that and that trust.